That man next to you is a dog. That man next to you is somebody who wants this thing.
And this is our game. It's our time.
You're talking about it, right? Every moment. The Cinderella story is over, man.
Make it win. Make it know what you did. Let's go get the show.
And it is a five-man rush. Maxwell retreats. Look at this. He's still on his feet and heaves it deep. Oh! James trying to get to the outside, looking for a block. James still on the sideline. Shakes another tackle. James touchdown. There is no better sign. Lawrence took a peek downfield, had a lot of room, and breaks the tackle, and is still running. Lawrence in a foot race. Will they catch him? Touchdown, Tigers! Wow! 56-yarder. It's got, no, does not have the leg. And Chris Davis takes it in the back of the end zone. He'll run it out to the 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 45. There goes Davis. Oh my God! Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game. Taylor. He stopped. Notre Dame wins. Let's go. Oh, jump pass. How about that? What Indiana did 2 weeks ago. Touchdown. Wow. Michigan to 41. What a hit. Ball's free. Throwing it to him out on third down. Huskies upset the Trojans here in Seattle.
Well, hello there, everybody, and welcome in as we are on the eve of a brand new college football season beginning in what should be one of the most exciting seasons of all time. Me and my guy, Loro Antonio, are here to break it all down, but football, guys, is officially back. It started on Saturday, technically, but the real thing kicks off this weekend with college football starting up tomorrow and then on Saturday. And then on Thursday night, next week, we've got the Chiefs against the Ravens to kick off the NFL season. The most exciting time in the sports calendar is officially here, folks. And I am all college football out. I got my New Mexico State Aggies hat on. I got the Georgia Bulldogs shirt on. And then I got next to me this Oregon Duck snow globe that I got when I visited Portland with the Duck mascot on it. It's very cute. But I am ready for college football. I hope you guys are all ready for college football. Loro, welcome into our yearly college football preview special. The season is officially upon us, man. It's going to be fun. Can't wait. But football is officially back. How are you doing, my friend? And are you excited for college football to be back?
It is. Can't wait for a great season. It's a new era for my Alabama Crimson Tide. I'm going to miss the legend, Nick Saban. He is Alabama football. He is college football. And I think Kalen DeBoer, I think, is going to do a remarkable job with Alabama. I know he's no Nick Saban, but I know he is going to do what he could to bring Alabama back to the top, which I have no doubt that he would.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up Alabama because we're going to kick this college football preview special show off with our team report. So you guys all know I'm a big Georgia Bulldogs fan. Loro is a big Alabama Crimson Tide fan. There's a lot of changes in the college football world. We've got the 2-minute warning now in college football. We've got conference realignments, college football playoff expansions. So yeah, it's going to be a fascinating and fun season. Cannot wait for it. Before we get into the special, though, I do want to just say, if you guys like what you guys are hearing and watching, go ahead and go on the IM6 Network and the MI6 Sports Network's Facebook page, as well as our YouTube page and all of our social media platforms, and like and subscribe our stuff. We're all over the web, so you guys can find us anywhere, wherever your podcast were there. So make sure you guys go ahead and like and subscribe. But let's get into it, shall we? Laurel, like you mentioned, Alabama, a lot of new changes. The legendary Nick Saban officially retired at the age of 72. It's a new era for the Crimson Tide. Kalen DeBoer was hired from Washington. He's going to be he's the next head coach of Alabama. Jalen Milroe is back, but Alabama did lose Dallas Turner in the NFL draft. Laurel, how are you feeling about the Crimson Tide? Give us a team preview of your Alabama Crimson Tide and what you expect from the Crimson Tide in the post Nick Saban era.
You know, I expect Alabama to be a great football team. They are already still a good football program, a good recruiting program, and I think Kalen DeBoer, I mean, if he can lead Washington to a national title, I think I could see him leading. I think I could see him leading Alabama to a title.
Sorry about that. I was on mute. But yeah, I mean, Alabama, like, look, don't underestimate Alabama, right? Like, they're going to be scary even when Nick Saban is not there. It's going to be weird, though, not seeing Nick Saban on the sideline there at Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa, throwing the headphones and screaming and just being Nick Saban. But yeah, that should definitely be interesting. But so for my Georgia Bulldogs, Laurel, we actually go to Tuscaloosa to play your Alabama Crimson Tide, I believe in week
September 28th, baby. I'm excited about that.
Yes, sir. September 28th. Georgia plays Alabama in Tuscaloosa. That's going to be a fun matchup. I can't wait for that. Georgia also plays Texas, which is going to probably be a battle of one versus number 3 at that point of the season.
Well, let me tell you, the first 3 games for Alabama, they play Western Kentucky at home, and then they also play USF at home, and then they got to play the Wisconsin Badgers on the 14th, and that is going to be that might be tough, but Wisconsin is sneaky good, and I always look forward to this every year, the Iron Bowl. Hugh Freeze versus Kalen DeBoer. You know, I think Hugh Freeze has brought Auburn football back.
Yes, and then you mentioned at Wisconsin. Guess what's after Wisconsin? Georgia, Alabama. The battle of the 2 powerhouses in the SEC will go down week number 4 on September 28th. And then also, Laurel, you forgot to mention, so you have Auburn at the end of the season in Tuscaloosa, but you also have to travel to LSU, and also you welcome in one of the newest members of the SEC, and that is Oklahoma you go to Oklahoma later on in the season. It's going to be interesting for Alabama. If you had to give me a prediction for Alabama's schedule, I think they're playing 12 games. They're playing 12 games this season. What do you think Alabama's record is, and what do you think Alabama does this season?
I think Alabama is going to win at least 11 games. I think they could lose to your Georgia Bulldogs because Kirby Smart really knows how to beat Alabama, and he finally did that when he beat his former boss and Nick Saban. And you know, when Nick Saban was the coach, he really knew how to beat his former assistants.
Yes, he did. I think he only lost 3 games in his entire career to his former assistants, which is very impressive. So you got Alabama winning at least 11 games in the first year under Kalen DeBoer. For my Georgia Bulldogs, listen, we've got one of the best teams in the country. Carson Beck is back again. He should be one of the top picks in the next year's NFL draft. But you look at Georgia, right? Last year they were a win away from going into the college football playoffs and potentially three-peating. Well, now you got Carson Beck coming back. The defense, you got a lot of players that are back as well. The pass rush was not what Georgia expected last year from their defensive line, but I think they should definitely be a lot better. Kirby Smart, he's now the best coach in college football after Nick Saban retired, but the offense, I mean, they lost a lot of key pieces. Ladd McConkey's gone to the Chargers. Brock Bowers is now with the Raiders. He should be a very great tight end for the Raiders. And also Ra Thomas is gone. But you do have Dominic Levitt and Arian Smith there. Georgia did add Benjamin Urosek for the Stanford transfer tight end in the portal. He was very good for Stanford last year. But you look at Georgia's schedule. So they open up against Clemson, which should be a very good game this upcoming Saturday. Me and Laurel will be making our college football week 1 pigskin picks in a moment. Then they play Tennessee Tech. Then they have at Kentucky, at Alabama, versus Auburn, versus Mississippi State, at Texas, Georgia versus Florida, and then at Ole Miss, Tennessee, Massachusetts, and then Georgia Tech. There's some tough games on the schedule like Clemson, Alabama, because Georgia always plays Bama always plays Georgia tough. And then Texas, I think, will be a very tough game, especially because it's in Austin, not in Athens, Georgia. But I think Georgia's got a great shot at going undefeated. Like, I think that Clemson, Kate Klubnik, their offense is kind of stale. The Alabama game does scare me a little. The Texas game scares me a lot. And then I think the rest of the schedule for Georgia is pretty manageable. Georgia Tech might be good, but they're not on Georgia's level, so I don't really fear them. So for me, I'm like you, Laurel. I think Georgia probably lose maybe one game, but I think also the most likely fact is I think that they're going to go undefeated. So I think that Georgia is going to be Georgia again. It's going to be another college football playoff berth, probably another SEC title in what should be a very good SEC. But I do want to see the defense get a lot better, especially the pass rush. But Carson Beck is going to be the leader. And Carson Beck, wherever Carson Beck goes, Georgia is going to go with him. So I can't wait to see how he is this year. And he might be the number one pick. Like we were talking off air, Loro. He might be the number one pick in next year's NFL draft. And it's going to be interesting to see where he goes. But he's a very good, prolific passer. And like I said, wherever he goes, Georgia will go with him. So that's our team reports for my Georgia Bulldogs and Laurel, your Alabama Crimson Tide. But let's get into the predictions. We have new conferences, this season in college football. The SEC added Oklahoma and Texas as part of that arms race and realignment. So now we have no divisions. We have Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC. Laurel, I'm going to start first with you on this. Alabama doesn't have Nick Saban anymore. Oklahoma and Texas are now part of the SEC. It's a new SEC there. Brian Kelly's there at LSU. Who do you have winning the SEC?
I'm picking Alabama. I think Kalen DeBoer will continue that tradition. I would like to see Jalen Monroe be consistent. He wasn't consistent last year, but I really could see Kalen DeBoer being very consistent. It wouldn't surprise me if Georgia won it because Georgia has the firepower in the SEC. And I also think other teams to look out for is Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin because Ole Miss is sneaky good. I'll tell you that. And then Mississippi State, they probably are going to be stuck just because they don't have Will Rogers anymore. And
they got a new coach, too.
Was that?
They have a new coach. The guy that I said might be Robert Saleh and Zach Arnett was fired after one season. So they have a new coach as well.
Yeah, and who's that new head coach for?
It's former Oklahoma offensive coordinator Jeff Lebby. He's going to be in his first year. So I do agree. I think no Will Rogers. Zach Arnett's gone. They're moving away from the Mike Leach offense. So I think that you're right. I think Mississippi State probably is going to be one of the worst teams in the SEC this year.
Mississippi State was so good with Mike Leach. I mean, Mike Leach is a college football legend.
Yeah, he was a college football legend. It's so sad that he passed away. But, yeah, I just think with Mississippi State, no Will Rogers there. No, they're moving. They have a new head coach. Like, there's so much change there at Mississippi State and Starkville that, sadly, I don't think the Mississippi State Bulldogs, I don't think they're going to be good for a couple of years. I think that Jeff Lebby has to rebuild that program from the scratch.
And you're right. And I think they do. So
you got Alabama winning the SEC?
yes, I do.
All right. For me, I'm going to go bias. I'm going to go with the Georgia Bulldogs and my guy Kirby Smart and Carson Beck. I think Carson Beck will play like the number one pick that he's projected to be. I think he's going to have one of the best seasons in college football. And I think that he's going to win he's going to be one of the contenders to win the Heisman. And that defense, Kirby Smart challenged them to be better in the offseason. And I think they will respond to the task. And I think that Georgia just has a team that, they were young last year and they made it to the SEC championship game. They're a lot better now, and a lot of the guys came back. So I think Georgia's got a ready-made championship team ready to go. I think that they're going to win the SEC, but I think teams to look out for, like you mentioned, Texas. Texas is going to be good with Quinn Ewers. I do think Texas might take a step back, though, because, adjusting to the physicality of the SEC is going to be tough. I think that watch out for Oklahoma. Brent Venables, I think he might be the next Kirby Smart. He's a very good defensive mind. He just needs the right quarterback, and they have a young quarterback who's very good. I think Oklahoma could get into that 12-team playoff. That defense improved a lot last season. Other teams that I'm looking out for, LSU with Brian Kelly, Loro. LSU has to make some noise now because you don't have any excuses anymore because it's not a 14 playoff, it's a 12-team playoff. They have to get into the playoffs for LSU and Brian Kelly, and it starts against USC this upcoming Sunday, which should be a great matchup. I think Alabama also is going to be tough. I think, yes, they lost Nick Saban. He retired, but Kalen DeBoer is a good offensive coach, and he reached the national title game with Washington. If he can do that with Washington, imagine what he could do at Alabama with way more talent. I think that he's going to be a great coach for Alabama, and I think he's going to be able to coach up Milroe and develop him because Kalen DeBoer is really good developing quarterbacks. Look what he did with Michael Penix there in Seattle, Washington. So I think Alabama, I'm not sure about the defense, but I think Alabama's offense is going to be great like it always is. Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin, Jackson Dart, they should be one of the playoff teams as well. So I'm going to go with Georgia, but watch out for LSU and watch out for Texas. I think LSU, Brian Kelly, third year, he always does a lot of great things in his third year, whether it was at Cincinnati or Notre Dame. I think Brian Kelly and LSU with the new quarterback, Garrett Nussmeier, the defense I think is going to be a lot better. I think LSU, Loro, I think they can make it to the SEC championship.
LSU could be good. I mean, you said Garrett Nussmeier might be like the next Jaden Daniels.
Well, he's not a runner. He's a very good pocket passer. I kind of liken him to like Joe Burrow, where he's a very good pocket passer. So they are different, him and Jaden Daniels. But I still think Garrett Nussmeier is going to be a very good quarterback.
Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right about that. But now we go on to the ACC, man. I mean, I don't think it's Clemson's conference, But my pick to win that conference is I am going to pick Mario Cristobal and the Miami Hurricanes.
That's a great pick. I'm doing the same thing. I'm picking Mario Cristobal and the Miami Hurricanes to win the ACC because they have one of the best quarterbacks that Mario Cristobal has ever had in his coaching tenure in Cam Ward, the Washington State transfer. They also have a lot of returning faces. Plus, Clemson is very stale. I mean, Kate Klubnik is a good quarterback, but their offense is very stale. Their defense is going to be good, but I don't trust that offense. I feel like Clemson's on the downfall. And then FSU, they just got bullied by Georgia Tech, and Georgia Tech is not a good football team. So I think FSU takes a step back. Do not be surprised if FSU loses like 3 to 4 games and the heat is on Mike Norvell because they lost a lot of pieces this year, and it doesn't seem like they replaced a lot of it. And they have Notre Dame, they have Miami, they've got Clemson. This is Mario Cristobal's time to break through, and I think he will at Miami. So give me the Canes, but also do not sleep on Mac Brown and the North Carolina Tar Heels. Like, I think North Carolina could do some really good things there. Also, don't sleep on Syracuse. Kyle McCord is there, transfer from Ohio State. He's there now. Louisville, I think, will be very good with Jeff Brom. But yeah, I got to go with Miami. It's more experienced team with Mario Cristobal, and I think that Miami is definitely going to be very good. But Laurel, let me ask you this: there's two teams that play each other week one: Billy Napier in Florida and Mario Cristobal in Miami, who are both under immense pressure at the respective schools. This is their third year. Both of them need to win, or both of them might, or one of them might get let go if they don't have a winning season or have a good year. Who do you think is under more pressure to win Saturday's game? Is it Billy Napier of Florida, or is it Mario Cristobal of Miami?
I'm going to go Billy Napier of Florida because, Gator Nation is very impatient, like we talked about. The swamp is where the Gators have their identity because, there is a lot of people at Florida that want to go down into the swamp and cheer on their Gators in Gainesville. They're impatient right now, and Billy Napier is probably in more pressure than Mario Cristobal.
This is a tough question because I think both coaches really need this game, but I'm gonna go with Florida because if Billy Napier loses this game, well, guess what? He's got Georgia. He's got one of the toughest schedules in all of college football coming up. And if he loses this game, I don't know if he can win 3 to 4 games, let alone make it to a bowl and make it to high prominence in the SEC. So if he loses this game, and let's say the Gators go on to win only 3 to 4 games, Billy Napier is going to be gone mid-season. And he's one of the coaches on the hot seat, which we'll talk about in a bit. So I'm going to go with Billy Napier in Florida. But yeah, me and Loro both got Miami to win the ACC. But let's go to the Big Ten, shall we? Ohio State, they have a new quarterback in Will Howard. Chip Kelly moved from head coach of UCLA to Ohio State's offensive coordinator. Michigan won the national title last year, but Jim Harbaugh left. Sharon Moore is the new head coach there in Ann Arbor. Oregon, USC, UCLA, and Washington all joined the Big Ten. It should be a fun race.
Will Rogers still going with divisions there?
Are they still going with divisions in the Big Ten?
Probably not, no. But, I feel like USC and UCLA, I think USC is going to still be very competitive.
Yeah, I agree. And also don't sleep on Washington and Oregon. Like Will Rogers, I think he's on the same level as Michael Penix, so I don't think the Huskies are going to lose a step. And also Oregon, like they have a really good team and they play Ohio State. So I could see the Buckeyes, and I know my guy Stephen Wang is not going to like this. I could see the Buckeyes losing 4 to 5 games this year. I just think the Big Ten is really that strong. And Penn State with Drew Aller, I think that they should be a little better than they were last season. But Loro, before I go to your prediction for the Big Ten, Loro, get ready for this. I am going with Will Rogers and the Washington Huskies to win the Big Ten and shock the world. I think that.
Oh my God!
Yes, because here's why. Because Michigan, they lost J.J. McCarthy, they lost Jim Harbaugh. I think they're going to take a step back, but they won the national title, so it's expected. They're going to have that hangover. Ohio State. Will Howard, their new quarterback, the reason why he transferred to Ohio State is because he got beat out at Kansas State last year. How are you going to thrive at Ohio State when you couldn't even be the starting quarterback of the Kansas State Wildcats? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, they lost a lot of pieces both on defense and offense. I know Chip Kelly's there, but Ryan Day's under a lot of pressure there. Oregon, I think, will be a very good team. But, I mean, look at the Huskies. Will Rogers is a bona fide superstar. Washington, Jed Fish, he's going to be a very good coach there in Seattle. The defense returned a lot of pieces there. USC, I mean, their offense is going to be very good. The defense is the one that makes me question them. Wisconsin, I think, will be very good with Luke Fickell in his second year. And also, Laurel, do not sleep on Nebraska. They've got a very easy schedule, and Nebraska lost a lot of games last year that they should have won. And I think that the Cornhuskers under Matt Rue and their new quarterback Dylan Raiola, who is one of the best prospects we've seen in a while. I think Nebraska could win I think they could win 9 or 10 games this year. Like, that's how easy their schedule is. So for me, Laurel, give me the Huskies. I don't think the Huskies take a step back. In fact, I think they go into a new conference with Will Rogers. I think that the Huskies put up a lot of points, put up a lot of wins, and win the Big Ten. And Will Rogers is one of the guys in the Heisman race. So that's my Big Ten prediction. Who do you have winning the Big Ten?
Going to go with the Michigan Wolverines. I like Sharon Moore. He did a great job filling in for Jim Harbaugh during this whole sign-stealing scandal that was very controversial. He kept Michigan afloat. If it weren't for him, Michigan would have not won the Big Ten and also the national championship. But speaking of Jim Harbaugh, I am confident that Jim Harbaugh is going to really be a good presence for the Chargers, and I think the Chargers are going to be a very good football team because of Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, I agree. So Laurel, you've got Michigan winning it. First, I got a question for you. So back to week 1. We're going to predict week 1 in a little bit, but LSU plays USC on this Sunday in Las Vegas. It should be a great game, and it's the same like Florida and Miami. Both of these two teams are under immense pressure to break through and win. Lincoln Riley and USC lost 5 of their final 6 games last year and finished with a very disappointing record. Their defense wasn't great. There's a lot of pressure on Lincoln Riley. Brian Kelly and LSU had the Heisman Trophy winner and still couldn't make it into the playoffs and win the SEC. So there's a lot of pressure on him there. I'm not saying both coaches are going to get fired. I'm saying that whoever wins this will be a jumping pad for them to have great success this year. Laurel, between USC and Lincoln Riley and Brian Kelly and LSU, who do you think needs this game more? Is it the Trojans or the Tigers?
USC. I mean, now that you lost Caleb Williams to the Bears, I think Lincoln Riley can make it work. He's really a good quarterback developer, so I really think that I'm not too worried about USC.
So you think Lincoln Riley needs this game more than Brian Kelly?
Oh, yeah.
All right. For me, you're like I said, both teams under a lot of pressure, both coaches under a lot of pressure. I'm gonna go with Lincoln Riley because USC is like Florida, very impatient fan base. They're used to winning a lot in the past. Both LSU as well, but Brian Kelly's had back-to-back 10-win seasons, so you cannot argue with those results. Yes, they haven't made it to the national title, they haven't won a title, but still, they've won 10 games. Lincoln Riley last year finished 8-4, I believe, at USC. Very disappointing season for the Trojans. They lost Caleb Williams. If USC, they are in the Big Ten now. They have a tough schedule, Laurel. USC has LSU to start the season, and then they play Utah State, which should be a win, and then they play Michigan. If they start out 1-2, like the hot seat's going to be burning on Lincoln Riley at USC, and they have Wisconsin after that. They've got they've got a really tough schedule after that. So Penn State as well. So USC needs this game more because they've got a very tough schedule. And I think that if USC finishes like 7-5, Laurel, do not be surprised if Lincoln Riley has enough of the pressure and jumps to the NFL. Because you and I both know this. This is LA. LA, there's a lot of pressure. If you finish with a disappointing record like Lincoln Riley at USC, like that could cause coaches to leave. It really could. So
I think Lincoln Riley will leave the college level. I mean, I think Lincoln Riley is a good coach in the college level.
He is a good coach, but I mean, back-to-back years of 8-4 and 7-5, that could cause USC coaches to be let go or to go to the NFL. Like look at Clay Helton. I mean, Clay Helton went 7-5, and then he went I think he went 8-4 in his final 2 years before he got fired, and there was a lot of pressure on him. So I think USC, they definitely need at least 9 to 10 wins this year for Lincoln Riley to get off that like quote unquote hot seat.
Yes, I think USC can do it. I mean, I have no doubt about that.
All right, let's go to the Big 12, where new faces in this conference as well. We got Utah, Arizona State, Arizona, and Deion Sanders in Colorado, all now in the Big 12, along with Oklahoma State. You've got Oklahoma and Texas no longer being there, but West Virginia, UCF are there in that conference. Kansas as well. Loro, for the Big 12, it should be very exciting with a lot of new teams in this conference. Who do you think wins the Big 12?
I'm going with prime time, baby. Deion Sanders. I like his coaching style, I like his way of motivating players. Although Colorado had, after an undefeated start, they kind of collapsed a little bit. But you know what? My gut tells me I believe something in the Colorado Buffaloes, and I want to go I'm going with prime time.
I like that pick a lot. I think that Colorado, if they can keep Shedeur Sanders healthy and upright, I think Colorado's in for a big year. But Loro, for me, I'm gonna go with a shocker. I'm gonna go. It's tough because I think this conference, there's a lot of really good teams like Gus Malzahn and UCF. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm also want to point out that I think Oklahoma State is still a sneaky good team with longtime head coach Mike Gundy.
Yes, they are. I think that they could definitely be a sneaky good team there, like they always are. Kansas State, I think, could be good. You know what, Loro? I'm going to agree with you. I am rolling with Deion Sanders in Colorado. I think they win the Big 12. I think it's an easier conference. Deion went to the transfer portal, got better offensive linemen and defensive linemen. I think Colorado is going to be better in the trenches. They have one of the best quarterbacks in the nation in Shedeur Sanders. Travis Hunter is Loro. If you're following the draft for this upcoming season, keep in mind the name Travis Hunter. This guy is very good as a receiver and very good as a cornerback. He's like the Shohei Ohtani of football. He can do both offense and defense. And I think that if your Patriots are picking at the top pick, one of the top picks in the NFL draft, I think you guys could pick Travis Hunter because you guys need an explosive receiver, and it wouldn't hurt that you guys have an explosive corner as well.
Oh, yeah. That I think Gerard Mayo could definitely use him in that sense, but I also think that the Big 12 conference is going to be very good, adding teams like Arizona State. Did you say they also added Cal and Stanford?
No, so Cal and Stanford, here's the funny thing. Cal and Stanford, for some reason, took their talents to the ACC. So they're with Miami. It makes no sense. So they're
they have to travel to the East Coast.
They have to travel down to Florida and North Carolina in that area. It's like, what are you doing, Cal and Stanford? Like, Cal and Stanford, sadly, Laurel, they're going to be awful now that they were not good in the Pac-12. Now think about this. They have to face teams like Miami, Florida State, North Carolina.
And they still get to play each other in the last game of the season.
They do, but both teams I don't think are going to be good. I was thinking about going to a Stanford game this on Friday. Their tickets, Loro, no joke, for Stanford versus TCU is $7. Like, it's crazy how cheap the tickets are. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what Cal and Stanford were thinking, but going back to the Big 12, don't sleep on Arizona State. Kenny Dillingham is a very young, great offensive mind. I kind of liken him, Loro, to a young Lincoln Riley. I think he's going to be a great head coach in college football, and I think his offense is going to do a lot of great things there. And so I think he's rebuilding that program after Herm Edwards left it a mess, but I think he's going to build Arizona State back up. I think Arizona, with Brent Brennan, the former San Jose State coach, I think they're going to take a step back. But yeah, I'm going with prime time in Colorado. They have the great key weapons. They've got a great quarterback. They just need to get competent in the trenches. If they can, I think Colorado is going to win at least 10 games there in Colorado. So that's who I'm going with for the Big 12. But let's go to the Mountain West Conference. Hawaii, Timmy Chang in his third year. He's got a quarterback in Braden Shager, who put up a lot of great numbers last year for the Rainbow Warriors. San Jose State, like I mentioned, lost their coach in Brent Brennan. He's now the new head coach at Arizona State. They replaced him with longtime Navy head coach Ken Nui Matalolo. Boise State's got a new coach. Fresno State coach Jeff Tedford resigned a couple weeks ago due to health issues, so they're going to get a new coach. Jeff Tedford, Utah State, their coach was fired due to sexual assault issues a couple of weeks ago as well, so they've got a new coach. And there's a lot of changes there in the Mountain West. In fact, Loro, all the Mountain West teams this year will be playing one of Washington State and Oregon State. They're going to be playing one of those two teams in their schedules this season. So that adds a new wrinkle to the Mountain West. But Loro, I looked at Hawaii's schedule. Do not be surprised if the Rainbow Warriors make the playoffs in year 3 under Timmy Chang, because when I look at their schedule, like they play UCLA this upcoming week. UCLA is not good. Chip Kelly left. They had a bunch of players transferred out. Hawaii beat Delaware State already. Like if you look at Hawaii's schedule this season, like the only games that really concerns me is against San Diego State, but that's in Hawaii. Boise State, but that's in Hawaii. They play Fresno State, that's on the road, but Fresno just lost their coach. They're in a lot of turmoil right now. Hawaii plays Wazoo as well, but Wazoo's not very good. Hawaii's got a quarterback who's like Colt Brennan and Timmy Chang himself as a player. He's very explosive. He's got a great arm. They've got some really good receivers there. Their defense, they hired longtime NFL defensive coordinator Dennis Thurman to be their defensive coordinator. I think they should definitely be improved. Loro, I am going with the Rainbow Warriors to win the Mountain West. Timmy Chang won 5 games last year. I think they take that next step up. They take a leap. And I think Hawaii not only will win the Mountain West, Loro, I think Hawaii makes it to the college football playoffs in year 3 under Timmy Chang with this explosive man right here in Braden Shager. I think Shager has a great season like he did last year. I think Hawaii finally puts it together, and I think Hawaii goes undefeated because with that easy schedule, I think there's no doubt Hawaii will either go undefeated or they will finish with 1 or 2 losses in their schedule because of how easy it is. So I'm picking the Rainbow Warriors to win the Mountain West and go to the playoffs. How about you?
Well, I'm picking Boise State, but I'm not sleeping on Hawaii. Based on what you said, the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, they are a team that is probably going to be back to being really good. And you said, with Braden Shager, I think he's gonna be really immaculate. He's gonna be really comfortable in this run and shoot offense that Timmy Chang has.
Yeah, I agree. And Hawaii's a lot better now than they were under Todd Graham. Like when Todd Graham left, that program was in shambles, but credit to Timmy Chang and his staff. I was wrong, Loro, about Timmy Chang. I thought that he wasn't going to work out as a coach because I thought that he was too young, didn't have any coordinator experience, but he's proved me wrong there in Hawaii. And I think him and Braden Shager, that's a very, very good quarterback coach combination. And I think that kind of likens me to June Jones and Colt Brennan with how explosive they both are. So I think Hawaii is going to be a very good team. I think Boise is going to be good, but I just think that they're in a lot of turmoil with the new coach. There's a lot of new stuff there in Boise. So I'm going with the Rainbow Warriors, but also don't sleep on San Jose State. Ken Nui Matalolo was at Navy for like 15 years. He did a great job with the midshipmen. But now he's in San Jose State. The Trojans aren't bad. Like they're a good team. I think I'm going to the first game tomorrow against Sacramento State. It should be a great game, but to open the college football season, it should be a great game. But I think San Jose State is going to be very good. Do not sleep. I think Nevada's going to be awful. UNLV under Barry Odom, I think they'll be okay. Air Force is always hit or miss. So I'm going with the Rainbow Warriors. Loro is going with Boise State, but that should be a very fun conference to watch out for. Last but not least, we're going to go to the American Athletic Conference in what should be a very, very fun American Athletic Conference. I cannot wait for the American Athletic Conference. I think that this conference has a lot of parity. I think that they have a lot of parity, and plus, there's a lot of really good teams there in the AAC. But you look at the AAC as Loro is. I think he's out right now. Yeah, Loro's out right now. But you look at the AAC. I mean, Memphis is a very good team, like always. Tulane is a very good team, but they lost their coach Willie Fritz to Houston. South Florida under their head coach Alex Golash. They are a rebuild. UTSA is always a very good team with Jeff Traylor. Navy, Army, UAB with UAB under Trent Dilfer, believe it or not, former NFL player. He's now the Trent Dilfer. Loro, I was saying Trent Dilfer is now the new head coach at UAB, so that should be very exciting as we move to the AAC. Florida Atlantic with Tom Herman, Charlotte with Biff Poggi. Loro, for the AAC, if you look at the AAC right now, it's very good. It's going to be very, very competitive. Last year, SMU won the AAC, but now, SMU is now in the ACC, so they're gone. For me, with Memphis, Tulane, South Florida, UTSA, Army, Navy, UAB, North Texas, Rice, Florida Atlantic, Tulsa, Charlotte, East Carolina, and Temple. Loro, I'm gonna go with Army. I think Army has a veteran team. They're very good. Their offense is very productive, always with that running game. The defense, they in their first year in the AAC, they should be very, very good. The defense, I think, should be really good. They have a really good special teams player in Jabril Williams. He's a very good return man. I'm gonna go with the Army. I'm gonna go with the Army Golden Knights to win the AAC, Loro. How about you?
I am gonna pick the Army Knights. I also is Navy in their conference too.
Yeah, both Navy and Army are in the same conference for the first time ever.
Oh, I'm gonna pick Navy.
Okay, so you're gonna go with Navy with that new coach that they have?
Yeah, I think they could do something. I think Navy always has a good football program, and I always look forward to this Army-Navy football game every year.
Yeah, me too. I love the Army-Navy game. It's always a great tradition. It's always a good game, too. It doesn't have a lot of passing, but a lot of running, and, it is always very fun. So, Loro is going to go with Navy. I'm going with Army for the AAC. But let's move to our the good stuff, the college football playoff prediction and the national championship prediction. Now there's 12 teams in the college football playoff. So this is how it works. So you have the best of the Power Four conferences, the ACC, the Big 12, the Big 10, and the SEC. They all get automatic bids. The conference winners all get automatic bids to the playoffs. And then the best team in the non-Power Four gets a automatic bid. And then after that, it's whoever's the best 7 teams record-wise makes the playoffs in the college football playoffs to round it out. So also how this works is it's a 12-team playoff, Loro. The top 4 seeds get bye weeks, and then after that, seeds 5 through 12 play in the quarterfinals. 5 plays 12, 6 plays 11, 7 plays 10, and 8 plays 9. And these games are played in whoever has the top seeds home field. And then after that, it's the winner of that plays the top 4 seeds in the semifinals, in the quarterfinals. And then you have the semifinals after that, and it's the national championship game. So it's going to be very interesting and very fun. It's going to be like March Madness in the college football playoff. We're not going to go through the entire playoff bracket because that's probably going to take forever. We're just going to give our 12 teams in the college football playoffs. So for me, Loro, I'm going to go first with this. I think the number 1 seed, I'll give you some time to think about it. But so I have Georgia, I have Colorado, I got I've got Colorado, I've got Washington, and I've got Miami winning their conferences. And in the Mountain West, I have Hawaii. So they're going to be the best non-Power 4 team. So for me, Laurel, I've got Georgia as my number 1 seed. I'm going to go with Georgia as my number 1 seed. I'm going to go with Washington as my number 2 seed. I think Miami makes it as my 3. And then I have Colorado and Dion as my 4. And then I think that number 5, I'm going to go with the Oregon Ducks and Dan Lanning. Number 6, I'm going to go with John Alcorn's Texas Longhorns. I think they make the playoffs. Number 7, I'm going to go with your Alabama Crimson Tide and Jalen Milroe. Number 8, I'm going to go with Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman and Riley Leonard. Number 9, I'm going to go with Brent Venables and the Oklahoma Sooners. Number 10, I'm going to go with Brian Kelly and LSU. Or actually, let me do that again. Number 1, I'm going to go with Georgia. Number 2, I'm going to go with Will Rogers and the Washington Huskies. Number 3, I'm going to go with Mario Cristobal in Miami. Number 4, I'm going to go with Dion in Colorado. Number 5, I'm going to go with Oregon and Dan Lanning. Number 6, I'm going to go with your Alabama Crimson Tide. Number 7, I'm going to go with Ohio State. Number 8, I'm going to go with LSU. Number 9, I'm going to go with Oklahoma. Number 10, I am going to go with that's tough. I'm gonna go with Ole Miss. I think they make the playoffs as the 10th seed. Number 11, I'm gonna go with Clemson, and then number 12, Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. So those are my 12 teams. Laurel, if you had to give me 12 teams, you got the 4 teams already with your conference winners and your best non-Power 5 or non-Power 4 conference winner. What's your 12 playoff teams?
One of them, number 1 for me would be the Alabama Crimson Tide. Number 2 for me would be the Michigan Wolverines. Number 3 for me is Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes. 4 would be the Miami Hurricanes. Number 5 would be the North Carolina Tar Heels. Number 6 is Oklahoma Sooners. Number 7, the USC Trojans. Number 8, the LSU Tigers. Number 9 would be the Boise State Broncos.
Okay.
Number 10 would be the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. Number 11 would be the San Jose State Spartans with, who's the coach again?
Ken Nui-Matalolo.
Oh, yeah. That guy is going to do a great job over there. He's a great coach.
How about Ohio State? Do you have them making the playoffs, or do you think they'll miss it?
I think they make it as a 12 seed.
Okay. Steven's not going to be happy if that's the case, but yeah, I don't think Ohio State wins the Big Ten. I don't even think they're going to – I think they're going to be one of the lower seeds in the college football playoffs. So those are our playoff teams. We got 12 teams right there. Laurel, if you had to give me a national championship game, like matchup prediction and champion, who are you going with?
Alabama versus Michigan, and Alabama wins with Kalen DeBoer, and Kalen DeBoer gets revenge on Michigan.
Wow, okay. For me, I'm going to go with the surprise, Laurel. I don't think Georgia's in that mix in the conference or in the national championship. I think they win the SEC, but I think they get knocked out. But for me, Laurel, I am going with LSU with Brian Kelly, and I'm going with Washington with Will Rogers. And I'm going to go with Brian Kelly and LSU to win the national title. I think LSU's got a lot of good players. I think that, you know, it's going to be a tough race in the playoff, but I just think I believe in LSU. I like their quarterback. I like the weapons that they have. I think Blake Baker does a great job, and Brian Kelly always does great things in year 3, and I think that he will go to the national title. Washington will go back to the national title. but give me LSU to win the national title, and Brian Kelly delivers the national title to LSU. So I'm going with the LSU Tigers. Let's move on to our college football awards and our coaching carousel prediction. Laurel, we got the Heisman Trophy. It's always a big award. Last year we had Jaden Daniels win it for the LSU Tigers. This year, Laurel, I'm going to give you my 3 finalists, and you can do the same. And then I'll give you my prediction before I turn it over to you. I think my 3 finalists for the Heisman Trophy, I think it's going to be all quarterbacks. I think it's going to be Carson Beck. I think it's going to be Will Rogers. And you know what? I'm going to go – or actually, no, I'm going to go 2 quarterbacks, and I'm going to go with 1 defensive player. I'm going to go with Carson Beck. I'm going to go with Will Rogers, and I'm going to go with Harold Perkins of LSU. He is a monster defensive tackle, Laurel. If you haven't watched Harold Perkins, he reminds me a lot of Aldon Smith without the off-the-field issues. A really good, great defensive lineman. He's very good at getting sacks and disrupting the quarterback. I think he's going to be a monster for LSU in their new defense. For me, give me Will Rogers to win the Heisman. I think Will Rogers is a bona fide superstar. I think he's going to be one of the top picks in the upcoming NFL draft. I'm going to go with Will Rogers to win the Heisman over Carson Beck and Harold Perkins. So that's who I have. But Laurel, who do you have for your – you could give me Heisman finalists if you want. If not, you can just give me the Heisman Trophy winner.
I'm going Carson Beck to win the Heisman Trophy, and I think he'll be the reason why Georgia will be – a powerhouse team again.
All right, so you got Carson Beck. Do you have Will Rogers in the Heisman, or do you don't think he makes it?
I don't think he makes it, though.
Okay. All right, let's move on to our next topic, which is the college football hot seat. Last year, there was a lot of, coaches getting fired, coaches retiring left and right. We've got a lot of coaches now on the hot seat here this season for college football. Laurel, let's start off with Billy Napier in Florida. Billy Napier is on the hot seat there in Florida. I'm looking at the list of coaches that are on the hot seat. You have Billy Napier of Florida. Florida, if they end up having a bad season, I think he's going to be fired. You have Sam Pittman of Arkansas. They were really bad last year. Dave Aranda at Baylor. It's been downhill ever since they won the Big 12 in 2021. Pat Narduzzi of Pittsburgh. You have Clark Lee of Vanderbilt. They've been awful there. And then I think you can also put in, Lincoln Riley and also, potentially Mario Cristobal if he doesn't win, and also Dabo as well, because they just haven't been good there in Clemson. Laurel, for you, couple questions. Do you think that with Florida having a really tough schedule this year, my number one question, does Billy Napier make it out alive as the head coach of Florida going into next season, or do you think he'll be fired?
He probably will be fired if Florida fails expectations.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Billy Napier is on the chopping board there in Florida. I think he's going to be fired. I think that you look at Florida's schedule, it's very, very difficult to imagine, barring a miracle, that Billy Napier will be back. I think the Gators need to hire a big hire. Laurel, can you believe this? Florida passed on Brian Kelly to hire Billy Napier. And Billy Napier was at Louisiana Lafayette, a little scoop. So I think Florida needs to get a big name. I think that's what they need to do. And I think the fans in Gainesville are just very impatient. So I do agree he's going to be fired. First coach that you think will get fired, Laurel, for me, I think it's simple. I think it's Billy Napier. I think that Billy Napier and the Gators are going to be off to a really, really bad start. I think that you look at their season, you look at their schedule, it's very tough to start the season. They have Miami, then they play Samford, then they play Texas A&M, Mississippi State. But after that, it's Tennessee, at Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss. I think, and then Florida State, at Florida State. I think the Gators I think they're going to go on a 6-game losing streak to end the year, and I think Billy Napier gets fired. So for me, I'm going to go with Billy Napier. I think Billy Napier loses to Miami, and then after that, the seat is going to be on fire. And I think that they lose to Texas A&M, and then I think they lose to Tennessee. And then at that point, you're sitting there potentially at 2-3. I think Gator Nation has enough, and Billy Napier. And then, no, I think he gets fired after the Texas game when they lose to Georgia and Texas. That will put him at, I believe, 2-5 going into LSU, Ole Miss, and Florida State. I think Billy Napier is the first coach fired this season. Laurel, who are your some coaches that you think are on the hot seat, and which coach do you think gets fired first?
I would agree with Billy Napier being fired first. It's just because Florida is pressured to get off to a good start right now. If they don't, it's going to be – he might be one of those guys that I think is probably going to get scapegoated.
Yeah, I agree. I think Florida is not going to have a good year because of that tough schedule, and they're just one of the bottom teams in the SEC. Laurel, other couple of coaches that you can look at that are potentially on the hot seat. Timmy Chang of Hawaii. If Hawaii, with their easy schedule, if they underwhelm this season, and let's say they have a losing record, is Timmy Chang on the hot seat?
Probably not, no. I think he's the right man for this job, and I think Timmy Chang has really earned a longer leash there because I feel like the Hawaii Athletics is, they believe in him, and they think that he is the guy going forward.
Right. How about Sam Pittman at Arkansas? Arkansas last year went 4-8, and we both know the SEC. Nobody's patient in the SEC. Sam Pittman hired Bobby Petrino to try to fix the offense in Arkansas, but they've got a tough schedule as well. Do you think Sam Pittman will be let go after this season?
Oh yeah, Arkansas is in a tough conference, but Sam Pittman, it might be time for a fresh voice. In Arkansas.
Yeah, in Arkansas. I agree. I think that he gets let go because I just don't think that they have a good year. The last coach that I do want to point out is Ryan Day. Ryan Day has been very successful at Ohio State, but they haven't been beaten Michigan couple times now. They've lost back-to-back games to Michigan. It's just also been disappointing for him in the bowl season. Now with Oregon, with Washington, USC, and UCLA moving to the Big Ten and joining forces with Penn State, Wisconsin, and also Nebraska with Matt Rule. Laurel, do you think Ryan Day, does he make it out after this season, or do you think he gets let go because they don't win enough games for him to keep his job?
I feel like they don't win enough games to keep his job, though.
Yeah, Ohio State's like Alabama. If you lose 2 to 3 games, you're all on the hot seat. And I just think that Ohio State, for me, I think they're losing 4 to 5 games because that conference is just so rough. So I think Ryan Day is going to be fired, and I think that Ryan Day is, Laurel, you have Ryan Day and the Buckeyes as your 12th seed. If they're the 12th seed in the playoffs, that means their season has been a massive disappointment. So I think that Ryan Day and the Buckeyes, sadly, are going to be, let go in this upcoming offseason. So, yeah, I agree. I think the Buckeyes will fire Ryan Day, and I think they get a new coach to replace Ryan Day. But let's move on to our final college football, our segment for the night before we end the program and go to final thoughts. And that is our college football week 1 pigskin pick'em, which will highlight some games to watch out for. Laurel will go ahead and predict those games. Laurel, let's start with the Thursday slate of games, tomorrow's games. Let's start off with our guy, Deion Sanders in Colorado facing North Dakota State. Who do you got? Do you got the Bison, or do you think the Buffaloes win their season home opener?
I'm going to go with Deion Sanders in prime time.
Yeah, I'm going to go with prime time too. I think it's going to be a tougher game than everybody expect, but I'm going to go with Colorado to win it. We also have North Carolina at Minnesota. That game is going to be a 5 p.m. kickoff here on the West Coast on Fox. That's one of the games to highlight on the Thursday slate. Loro, are you going to go with Mac Brown and the Tar Heels, or are you going to go with the Golden Gophers?
I'm going with Mac Brown. I think North Carolina is well coached because of Mac Brown.
I'm going to go with the Tar Heels as well. I think Minnesota is very overrated, and I think that the Tar Heels, a lot of people are doubting them because they lost Drake May, but I think the Tar Heels go into Minnesota and send a message that they're for real. Let's go to the Friday game where we have the Friday slate where we've got 1 or 2 games to highlight. We've got Temple at number 16, Oklahoma. Loro, are you going with Temple or are you going with Brett Venables and the Oklahoma Sooners?
I'm going with Brett Venables and the Oklahoma Sooners.
All right, same thing. I'm going to go with the Sooners. I think the Sooners are just more talented than Temple, and I don't believe that Temple will be able to keep up with Oklahoma. The defense should be much better for Oklahoma, and I think they'll be able to suffocate Temple. The last Friday game, TCU at Stanford, though, wrote Stanford, Troy Taylor, TCU, Sonny Dykes, both teams. Last year TCU had an underwhelming year. They had a step back after they made the college football national championship game. For me, Laurel, this is tough because I think Stanford can put up points. I think TCU can put up points. I think this is going to be a shootout. Give me Stanford at home to upset TCU and Sonny Dykes. How about you?
I'm going TCU.
All right, and then let's go to the Saturday games. The early games here on this Saturday to kick off the first week of college football. We've got number 14 Clemson versus number 1 Georgia in Atlanta on ABC at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Laurel, this is one of the games of the weekend. Are you going with Dabo and the Tigers or Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs?
Going with Kirby Smart.
Yeah, I'm going with Georgia. I think Georgia wins this game by a couple touchdowns. I just don't think Clemson's got the firepower to keep up with the Georgia Bulldogs. And then we have number 8 Penn State at West Virginia. Loro, who do you have in that game?
Oh, I'm going with Penn State.
This is tough because I could see West Virginia pulling the upset, but yeah, I'm going to go with Penn State. I think Penn State wins that game.
West Virginia is going to be sneaky good, though.
They will be, yeah. And Morgantown is a very electric environment. So,
they'll be singing Country Roads there.
Yeah, they'll be singing Country Roads, exactly. I'm going to go with Penn State, but the thing is, I don't trust Penn State. So I think this is going to be one of the best games of the weekend. And then let's move on to – there's not a lot of good games in the early slate. Akron at number 2 Ohio State. Laura, I don't think that this is any surprise. I'm going with the Buckeyes, and I'm going with the Buckeyes to blow out Akron. How about you?
I'm going to go with the Buckeyes. They should win that game without a doubt.
Yeah, Buckeye fans might have to turn off the TV at halftime because it's a blowout, like we do for Georgia and Alabama games when they play like really bad teams.
I don't even bother watching if they play a team that I don't know of.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some of the highlight games of the afternoon slate. Colorado State at number 4 Texas. Laurel, is there any doubt in your mind that Texas loses this or wins this game, or do you think Texas it's going to be a blowout?
I think it's going to be a blowout for Texas Tech.
All right, and then we have Mario Cristobal and the Miami Hurricanes at the Gators of Florida. Billy Napier, Mario Cristobal, a lot of pressure on both of them. Laurel, the time has come. Are you going with the Canes or are you going with the Gators to make a big opening statement?
The Canes.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going with the Canes. Mario Cristobal needs this game. Billy Napier needs this game. I just think the Canes are a lot better, especially with their new quarterback, Cam Ward, there in Miami in the battle for Florida. The next game we're going to go to is Boise State at Georgia Southern and Clay Helton. Loro, do you go with the Broncos or do you go with Clay Helton and Georgia Southern?
I'm going with the Boise State Broncos.
Same. For me, I don't trust Clay Helton. I don't trust Georgia Southern as much as it pains me to say it. I got to go with Boise to win this game on the road. Your Alabama Crimson Tide, Loro, opened the Kalen DeBoer era against Western Kentucky. I think Alabama, in the first game of Kalen DeBoer's time at Alabama, I think that they blow out Western Kentucky. How about you? Are you going with Western Kentucky or Bama?
I am going with I'm going to go with Alabama.
Are you going to bother to watch this game, Western Kentucky at Alabama?
I want to see. I want to watch, but we'll see if it gets ugly by halftime. Then might as well go to another game.
Yeah, I'd be interested if I were you, because it's the first game of the Kalen DeBoer era, and you want to see how they do in that first game. Let's go to the evening games. We've got number 7 Notre Dame. This is going to be a very good game. Number 7 Notre Dame at number 20 Texas A&M. Mike Elko, the former head coach of Duke, is now the head coach of Texas A&M, replacing Jimbo Fisher. Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame, they are eyeing the college football playoffs. Loro, are you going with Marcus Freeman and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, or are you going with the home team, the Aggies of Texas A&M, to pull off the upset at Notre Dame?
I'm going with Notre Dame.
I'm going with the Aggies to pull off the upset. I think it's at Texas A&M. Kyle Field is going to be electric. I don't know how Riley Leonard handles it in his first start with Notre Dame. So I'm going with the Aggies in one of our first upsets of the season. So we've got Fresno State at number 9 Michigan. Sharon Moore takes over as head coach. The Bulldogs, they lost their head coach, Jeff Tedford. I'm going to go with the Wolverines. I think this is going to be close at first, but I think the Wolverines pull away from the Bulldogs of Fresno. Loro, do you have Fresno State or do you have Michigan to start the season?
Michigan's going to win that game pretty handedly.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then the last game to highlight on this 4 p.m. slate is we have Hawaii hosting UCLA. Timmy Chang and the Rainbow Warriors welcome in Deshaun Foster, the new head coach of UCLA. Loro, are you going with Hawaii or are you going with your hometown Bruins?
Going to go with my hometown Bruins. I think Deshaun Foster is going to be a decent coach, but UCLA is just in a very tough conference.
Yeah, they are. I agree with you on that. I think I'm going to go with Hawaii. I think the home cooking helps. Braden Shager is an electric quarterback. I don't trust UCLA's defense, so I think Hawaii puts up a lot of points. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, and I think Hawaii wins 42 to 31. I think both teams put up a lot of points in this game. So I got the Rainbow Warriors. And then we go to the Sunday game, Loro. Number 23 USC at number 13 LSU. This is a game versus number 13 LSU in Las Vegas. This is a game I've been looking forward to all off-season long. Loro, Lincoln Riley versus Brian Kelly. Give me Brian Kelly and LSU to beat USC in what should be a very good game. But Loro, are you going with USC or are you going with Brian Kelly and LSU?
I'm going Brian Kelly. I just don't think USC can beat LSU.
Yeah, they're not physical enough, right?
They are not physical enough.
And then the last game for week 1, Labor Day, we've got Boston College at number 10, Florida State. FSU lost in week 0 to Georgia Tech. Loro, are you picking the Seminoles to bounce back, or do you think the Boston College Eagles and their new head coach, your former offensive coordinator, Bill O'Brien, in his debut, puts FSU to 0-2?
I think my guy Bill O'Brien puts FSU to 0-2.
I agree. I think FSU is going to go 0-2 to start the season. I think Bill O'Brien and the Eagles trample them to start the season. I just don't think FSU is very good on the trenches. And I think DJ Uiagalelei, he sucks. And he was very bad in their first game against Georgia Tech. So that's who we have. But yeah, guys, it's been a very great college football preview show. It's been a lot of fun. Looking forward to what should be a very exciting and fun season. But let's go into our final thoughts and announcements for tonight and wrap this thing up. Laurel, do we know when we're going to have our our NFL preview show? It's going to be sometime next week.
Yes, I think it's going to be sometime next week.
Yeah, well, me and Laurel will work out the dates and the time for the NFL preview extravaganza, but we're going to have it sometime next week before the Chiefs-Ravens first game. Extra Point is going to be coming back next week, so make sure you guys tune in for that. But yeah, it's been a great show. Laurel, do you have any final thoughts for tonight before we wrap things up?
It's a great show. Looking forward to a great college football season.
Yeah, definitely. And, looking forward to Extra Point, looking forward to the NFL season. One last question for you, Laurel, before I give my final thoughts and we wrap it up. Bill O'Brien, your guy, he's the new head coach at Boston College. How do you think Boston College does this season?
I think they'll be sneaky good. I think Bill O'Brien's a good offensive mind. I think he's going to get the best out of the quarterbacks he has there. And
do you think he's a better fit for college than the NFL, to be honest?
Oh, yeah. I think he is. I mean, he did some decent things over at Penn State.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think he's a very good offensive mind, and I think that he's a good raw coach, which should play well in college football. But guys, it's been a great show. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Like Laurel mentioned, it's going to be a great, amazing college football season. We might do a college football show now and then. Who knows? But if you guys have any of your predictions, feel free to comment down below in the comment section. We're interested to see what you guys think. But man, 12-team playoff, 2-minute rule now in college football. It's going to be very, very fun. A lot of coaches, a lot of pressures, a lot of great games starting out with Miami, Florida, week 1, USC, LSU. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be fun. Cannot wait. It's going to be an exciting college football season. Hawaii, UCLA as well. So it's going to be a very, very fun college football season. NFL returns next week. Laurel, before we head out, what was your thoughts on Bailey Zappi getting cut from the Patriots? And if you have any overall thoughts on the Patriots 53-man roster?
I think it looks good. I think Drake May is going to be the starting quarterback. I think Bailey Zappi I didn't think there was room for him.
Yeah, now he's on the Kansas City Chiefs, so on their practice squad. So interested to see how that works out. But Drake May, you said he's going to be the starting quarterback. He looked good. I just think Jacoby Brissett, like you mentioned, Laurel, I think he's too injured right now. And I don't think you want to trot out an injured guy to start week 1 of the season. So, but yeah, it's been a great show. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Extra Point returns sometime next week. We're going to do our NFL preview show. But guys, it's been a great show. Enjoy college football week 1. It should be amazing. But until then, stay safe. Stay healthy, and we will see you guys back on here for next week for our NFL preview show. Have a great night, everybody.
That man next to you is a dog. That man next to you is somebody who wants this thing.
And this is our game. It's our time.
You're talking about right? Every moment. The Cinderella story is over, man.
Make it win. Make it know what you did. Let's go get it.
And it is a 5-man rush. Manziel retreats. Look at this. He's still on his feet and heaves it deep. Oh! James trying to get to the outside, looking for a block. James still to the sideline. took a peek downfield, had a lot of room, and breaks a tackle, and is still running. Lawrence in a foot race. Will they catch him? Touchdown, Tigers! Wow!
56-yarder. It's got, no, does not have the leg. And Chris Davis takes it in the back of the end zone. He'll run it out to the 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 45. There goes Davis. Oh my God! Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game. Taylor. He stopped.
Oh, jump pass. How about that?
What Indiana did 2 weeks ago. That is touchdown. Wow. Michigan to 41. What a hit! Ball's free.
Throwing it to him out, third down.
Huskies upset the Trojans here in Seattle.